Welcome to the I Get It Show, a creatively fun discussion focused on the pursuit of meaningful daily life. With a wide variety of topics, insights through celebrations, influencer interviews, and everyday life journey interactions. Inspiring you to pursue passionate happiness and discovering the simple aha moments in life that serve to power the journey of purpose. And now your hosts for the I Get It Show, Jeff Armour and Lindsay Lott.
Hey guys, welcome to the I Get It Show. I'm Lindsay Lott, and here with Sean Be Wise and the man, Jeff Armour.
Hey, what is up, Lindsay?
Now I got first billing.
Right. Welcome.
Yes!
Welcome, Sean. Way to go.
Well, I just know he's disappointed and just, have a little compassion.
Hopefully today's topic will be able to help him with that. So
right, yeah,
life is
today's
full of it, right?
all about disappointments versus distractions.
Yeah. Right. So you, by the way, probably have a lot of stories to share with us today about disappointments, I'm guessing, right?
Well, thanks for pointing that out, that my life has been one disappointment after another.
I don't know that I was pointing it out as much as I was saying it's like right out there for everyone to see. You kind of wear it on your sleeve or something.
Do I?
Right? I don't know. Is that true?
You tell me.
I think I think that we'll discover today it's kind of all about our mindset.
Yeah.
How we approach it, right? No, I think you have certainly really cool stories we're going to dive into at some point in our shows about how you've been able to overcome all kinds of things that some would just consider disappointment. You've turned them into amazing things. So excited to journey that way. See how I pulled that together.
You dug yourself out of that hole real quick.
Pay attention. That's how we do, right? When you get in a hole, the first rule is to stop digging.
Flattery. Flattery.
What's up, girl? You did awesome.
Right.
So I get it. I get how to do this.
Yeah, you do.
Right.
You're expert at it. But life is full of disappointments, right? Have you had a few?
I was just thinking about that as you were saying. I'm trying to come up with, have I had any disappointments? Nothing comes to mind right off the bat.
No?
You know what? So I got a minor disappointment I can share. And I have a little bit of a beef with things that are sugar-free.
Okay.
So I've had people in my life tell me, oh, try this. It doesn't have any sugar in it, and you'll love it. And so your mind is like, well, this person seems like somebody that knows what they're talking about, right? First mistake, right? And so then you try said item that doesn't have any sugar in it, and then you realize that was a disappointment.
That's a disappointment.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe sometimes, like I like to get on different things and read reviews of restaurants. And I always like, this is just me, and maybe other people like this, but I like to jump to the really bad reviews. That's where I like to jump to see. Because most people, when they give a review, like if you have a really good experience, it's very few people actually jump on and give a great review.
Right.
Most people are like, I'm unhappy, so I'm going to tell them a thing or two. So I always jump to the bad reviews and then judge where I'm going based on how bad is that review. And sometimes I'm like, no place can be that bad, right? Or you just seem to be really unhappy. Whatever it is, it'll get that, right? And so there are times when I will go to places and I will be like, caught up in this place was awesome, this place was great, it has all these things, and maybe one or two over here that were negative, but everything else. And then you go there and it's like, oh boy,
right? So you got to just set the bar real low.
Oh boy,
right? So
you're
not set yourself up for disappointment.
Right, and that's the problem. I've set the bar too high. That's
right.
Yeah,
we all just need to lower our standards, and
is that will help us all be happier? Is that right?
Probably less disappointment.
All right.
Anyways.
So when Lindsay says to all of you out there, we literally have jumped to the end of the show and said, all you have to do is lower your expectations, which, by the way, is like next week's topic. Very exciting. So if you lower it, then you won't be
wrapped it all up right there.
Disappointed. Right. Caught you up on two shows right on
exactly.
that. I like it. So yeah, I think disappointment is, I think that it comes along with expectations. That's why I think next week's topic really piggybacks off of this one. So if you're listening to this out of order, this topic will probably make the expectations topic make sense. So
I'll just come together.
That you listen to the show in order, but if you have to jump around, that's fine. But understand sometimes they feed off of others, right? But I think disappointment is something that we probably experience multiple times every day.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. And as I was thinking about this week's topic and kind of reflecting on my life, and there are quite a few disappointments.
Did you make a list, or is it more internal?
That's a little too depressing.
Yeah.
However,
you know who makes a list of disappointments? Be Wise. When we check into Be Wise later, I bet you he's going to have a list of disappointments he has with, say, me, for
With
example.
you. Oh, right.
So can't wait to jump into that. That'll
That's
be
true.
just fantastic.
That's true.
Yeah, let's do more of that.
But I was trying to think of like what situation or scenario in my like life, kind of like right now, that there has been some disappointment in. Mm-hmm. And I've hesitated and not known if I should like really be this vulnerable.
Let's get
but
deep into Lindsay.
I'm going to do it. So Sean and be wise, be nice. And your job,
right. Because I don't know how to be nice. So
your job is to, make a joke, make light of the situation.
I see. Yeah.
And then
Take
maybe
the
we should
tension
have
out
an
of it.
episode on like my control issues.
Yeah,
Because that's
So
what
we're going to relieve Lindsay's tension. That's my job. And then we're going to learn how to deal with your control issues.
Yes.
Got it. All right.
All right.
We should be able to wrap
Anyway,
this up in 3
back
or
to
4
me.
years.
So, and I'm sure you can relate, and Sean, maybe be wise too, but I am. So I've been divorced a while.
What?
Single for
How?
longer than that.
How did everybody let you get away?
Oh, man.
Right?
But see, you're just, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you pry the bars off the basement window and crawl out? Or
Totally.
That's how you
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Anyways, but so after I was divorced, I was so happy to be single, like super content, and just made up my mind that I will die single and alone. Like
Wow.
that, I was good with that. It
Wow,
was
really?
good. There was
Wow.
nothing inside of me that ever wanted to even consider a relationship.
Maybe there's nursery rhymes about you.
But I was just jaded, right? I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not going to open my heart. Not
Were
gonna,
you jaded to men or people in general?
men.
Men. You're
Yeah.
a man. You were a man hater.
Well, and
oh,
just,
here she comes.
but just relationships in general. I'm like, they're all a bunch of bunk. Like everyone
right.
acts like they're happy, but nah. You know what I mean? Like I just had no faith.
But it's
that-
all fun and games to you end up in a basement, am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was like for a few years, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna be single and do my thing, and I was good with it.
You were good.
Yeah, but then some things happened in my life and opened up my heart and my awareness. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Damn it. As much as I try to fight that feeling,
Right.
I think I do want to like have a relationship,
Right.
like know what that experience is like,
Yeah.
have love again. Like we've talked about so many times, like we're here to give love, receive love. And I think in the context of the relationship, a meaningful relationship, that's different than.
It's like the way you're describing it is almost like the beginning of an REO Speedwagon song.
Well,
you heard this?
No, but go ahead and sing it.
It's like what I can't fight this feeling any longer.
Right, totally.
Sucked you in.
That's where I was
Right,
at.
nicely
yeah, I'm
done.
gonna
Okay.
sing that in my
Right.
head now.
Right.
So, but then, man, the disappointments with dating.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been dated a ton, but I've dated some great guys, some interesting guys, some scary guys, right?
Is that right?
Right.
Right.
But there has been,
So these are all people that have identified as male.
yes,
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Just
Just
all I'm doing is
clarifying.
clarifying.
Okay, gotcha.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
where we're at in the genre.
anyways, but I have had a relationship where there was real genuine love there, like both ways. And
Like after your divorce?
yes, and I really thought that had the potential to be something lasting and
okay.
meaningful, and
All right.
and that had the great potential.
Right. And why did he not lock you down?
And various reasons,
Is that right?
timing, other personal issues, just whatever it was. But that was incredibly disappointing, right? And I think disappointment is a loss, like the sadness
Did you
about
get
a
a
loss.
copy of his credit report and asset statements and realize this isn't the guy for me? Or
See,
did
I
that
need to like check with you first before I like.
Right. I've
really
told
go
you
out.
100
I
times,
know,
right?
man.
Let's roll this by us first. Like we should start like a Lindsay
You need to
dating
vet them
committee.
for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's this committee. We'll get together and we'll decide for you. Right.
Right.
Let's weed out some of those people that really
That's a smart approach.
Yeah. At this point in Lindsay's life, she's going to need these things.
Yep.
And do you have those? I'm so sorry. We'd
Yeah.
like to approve you at this time, but
I
we're
like
going to
that.
send you a letter for
Forget
the reasons for
feelings,
your
just
denial,
check
like it
the
was a credit. Right. So you've been disappointed then.
So it was a disappointment, and as I've sat in that and contemplated it, I've realized like, what is that? Why do I feel that way? And the disappointment was truly like born out of the gap between like my expectations and like the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Like what I hoped for and the potential there, and what was actually real in the moment were not aligned, and hence the disappointment.
So then this disappointment, like you had hope that it was going to work out. And then
Well, and I thought, yeah, and it seemed
the
like that's
vision
where
of it in
was,
your head
right,
was, and then all of a sudden it came like did you feel like they wasted all that time?
No, it was
feel
still
like
a good
you-
experience.
Okay,
it's
see,
still
well,
growing and
I
learning
think that's
experience,
something that we'll be able to
but still
figure out.
disappointing.
So I'm guessing a guy that knows a lot about disappointments in life
Yeah, let's see.
is Be Wise. I bet you Brian can speak to this about disappointments and
Bet so.
whatnot. So let's head on over to an undisclosed location. Brian?
Yes. Welcome to the show, Be Wise. There we go.
Yeah,
Oh, welcome to the show.
I bet.
wrote down
Lindsay?
that was
Lindsay's the driver, so sorry.
Failed on that intro.
Yeah,
Sorry.
one job.
Sorry, man.
Welcome to the show, Be Wise.
There you
Glad
go.
you're here.
He's always picking up our slack.
You know, that's Sean from 3 booths over, by the way. It's literally not even in the studio.
John's the best. So, your wife has come to me. That's what I got to say first off, because this is a good topic. This is a distraction. This is a disappointment type show, and my biggest disappointment today.
This is a disappointment type show?
Yeah,
Wow.
Because
He's here to
we introduced
disappoint.
Michaela last week, and Michaela's not here today.
Oh,
Yep.
that Sean
That's right.
scared her off.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, she got a
Pass
taste
the
of got a taste of you guys and said, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah. And also, I did want to say that if Lindsay's going to come to us with all of her disappointments, we're talking about time now. The time is the issue that we don't have. We don't have that much time.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're the target.
At least I'm consistent. I disappointed him, right?
This is great.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, it's not hard to do, honestly. It's not hard to do.
So I have a disappointment that I'd like to share. I went to Dunkin' Donuts the other day. Went to Dunkin' Donuts in the morning, and I was going to get a couple of donuts.
I'm so sorry. I need to cut you off at that. So Duncan has not yet signed their affiliated agreement to sponsor the show. And so you're going to have to say a donut shop. Thank you.
Well, a donut shop that's orange and brown, and they serve donuts. Anyway, I pulled up and to the window, and I got my donuts and I got my cup of coffee, and I asked the gal if she had any stevia. Do you have any stevia? And 16-year-old girl's looking back at me, and she's saying, "Stevia?" I said, "Yeah, it's the sweetener that you put in your coffee." And she says, "Well, we've got sweet, or what is that, low and sweet, or something, sweet and low, or whatever it's called." I said, "No, that's not going to work. I need the stevia." And she says, "Well, what does that do?" And I said, "Well, it's a natural sweetener, and it sweetens your coffee." And she says, "Well, why don't you just eat the sugar?" And I said, "Well, because I want to not eat as much sugar." And she says, "Dude, you're at Dunkin' Donuts."
That's funny.
So a 16-year-old put me in my place of the location that I was at, and I did not get my stevia. So it was very disappointing.
Not getting it. Yeah, not getting it. Yeah. Oh,
So I did want to share.
Maybe carry your own
a little
stevia
bit.
around with you. Have you thought about that?
Good.
You put some
No, I
stevia
haven't
in
thought
your
about
vehicle, and maybe that'd help. Anyway.
Very distracting. So disappointment is the feeling of sadness that we have when we don't get what we want. That's the feeling there, the disappointment.
Yeah.
We get what we want.
Yeah.
So distraction then becomes the action that moves us away from either disappointment or things that we do want. It's an actual movement of moving away from or towards something. And most of the time, a distraction isn't good, and it's actually moving you away. So, Merriam-Webster, you remember her, Jeff? You may have dated.
I remember. Yeah. Me and Miriam. Talk about
Miriam.
another dating experience, Lindsay, that didn't work out. Oh, I had high hopes.
So,
for
do you
her.
know what the opposite of distraction?
She had to
is? The
define
opposite.
everything I did. It was crazy. Anyway, back to you.
It's funny. Yeah. The opposite of distraction. Lindsay, you have a thought on that?
The opposite of distraction.
I would just say the first thing that comes to mind is focus.
Oh,
But
focused. Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Jeffrey,
What would you
how
say?
about you?
Well, I don't know.
I'm not asking Sean. He knows it all.
right.
Yeah, sure. It's exactly. If we really want to know what it really says, we just
Fact
go to
checker.
Sean. Yeah, that's important to know for sure.
Jeff, you got
The opposite
thought on
of
the
distraction is attention.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, you might be interested to know that Miriam, who
Yeah.
defines everything,
Yeah.
says there is no exact opposite of distraction.
I thought it
There's
was a trick question.
similarities
I
and
knew
there's
we were
near
gonna set up.
opposite, but there isn't an actual opposite to distraction. So
Yeah, there is.
before
Yeah, there is. I just found it. The opposite of distraction is traction.
Traction.
Traction. That's what I was going to offer, Sean.
Thank you,
good
Sean.
My
one.
show notes.
Good
My
one.
show notes.
Yeah.
Because distraction. I even made a little graph here if you can see it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you can't see it. I don't know.
We saw it.
I made a graph.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Nice.
you can't see it. Anyway, distraction and traction are the opposites, and I'd like to offer that up as what the opposites are. Traction is moving towards what you want. Distraction is moving you away from what you want.
Yeah.
So, Sean
good.
stole my thunder.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Now you're
I think
disappointed.
I don't think it was stealing as much as it was being able to support what you were saying, which was great. So that is
Got your back. Got your
Right.
back, B-Wise.
Yeah, you are not alone. All right, so then Lindsay.
Yeah.
So these disappointments.
Yeah.
It happened in life, like this. You used your dating thing, or perhaps it's the silly one. I mean, I brought more silly stuff to the table,
Yeah.
I guess. But when you have those disappointments, I feel like you just have a different means about you, where I think others have those disappointments in relationships, for example, and they do. Like, you were very jaded towards relationships
Right.
because the relationship that you had was super disappointing, right? You were so disappointed in that relationship that you basically said no relationship
Right.
then, right? And so it became you that disappointment consumed your life, where maybe you considered that at some point that disappointment was distracting you from what's possible. And so you decided you were going to move past that disappointment and call it a distraction that you're not going to allow
Right.
to keep you from what's possible in your
Right.
life. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. And there's a couple of things I wanted to say about the distractions, but
Yeah.
I have a quote from, Abraham Maslow, right? The psychologist that created like the Maslow hierarchy
Exactly
of needs,
right,
and the
yeah.
top of the
Right.
hierarchy of needs is like
And
our
when Lindsay
self-actualization.
starts using big words, I want everybody to pay attention. You might have lost B-Wise at this point, but Sean and I are still here.
But he said, one characteristic of self-actualized people is an uncanny ability to distinguish between a means and an end. They're able to keep an eye on what they truly want and at the same time stay open to the various ways it can come about.
Oh,
So
yeah.
before we move on to distractions, I was just going to say, like, yeah, so there were a lot of disappointments in relationships, but it doesn't mean just, right? Like, my instinctual, natural, like, reaction is wanting to just zip up my heart, close it down, push everyone else away again. But knowing, and like, ultimately, I do still want that relationship. And if this is not the one, that just means that's not the one. Doesn't mean that I'm still not going to hold that, like, ultimate hope
Sure.
or goal or whatever
Sure,
that it
yeah.
might be. Whatever the, and
Yeah.
it's applicable to anything, like,
Yeah.
business ventures or sweeteners in your coffee, whatever it might be,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
okay, well, move on to the next thing.
Right. Well, and I think that's really awesome, because I think that's so true. That I think disappointment is one of the big killers of innovation, right? I'm disappointed this didn't work out, and so I don't give any more effort.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
quit.
Right. And I do think distractions get a bad rap, and I do think they can be negative, but like, what if we spun it and found the positive way to use distractions in a sense, like, because sometimes we are really hurt, or we have a lot of emotions, or we're emotionally charged, and we want to react in like anger, or, and not logically think through it and respond to a dilemma or situation with the way that we would want to. So maybe sometimes we can use our distractions to intentionally and temporarily just give us space before proceeding to,
Yeah.
solve the dilemma or deal with the dilemma or whatever it might be.
Right. So this is Jeff's opinion.
Okay.
Not necessarily that of management. Okay. So I think that the biggest enemy in anyone's life, regardless of where they live, what their culture is, where they come from, what their past is, what their possibilities are, what their deficiencies are, whatever it is, the biggest enemy of who and what they can become is distraction. It can all boil down to being distracted from what I'm capable of becoming or achieving because of whatever circumstances get in my way. Am I going to run into obstacles that can feel like disappointment? Yes. But are those moments in life opportunities for me to say, I need to relook at what I'm trying to accomplish. And is there a way past this? Is there a way around this? Is there a way over this? Or do I need to adjust what I'm doing in order to ultimately become what I am created or purposed to be? And I think we let disappointment just shut us down.
Right.
Shut us down. And instead using that as a catalyst for saying, I'm not going to let that disappointment distract me from my overall capabilities.
Right. Right.
That got deep quick.
Right.
Sorry.
But
Sorry,
no, I like, right. Just stay in your lane, bro.
My bad. Yeah, my bad. You're the serious
Just
one,
teasing.
right? I'm the eye candy, obviously.
No, I agree. And I think it's just about like, we talked about our awareness. It's just like our awareness. Okay. Because we're surrounded by distractions all the time. Like, and it can just suck us and totally throw us off path. And we can forget about what we really want or what our purpose is. But so I think being aware of those distractions, but I also think there can be value in temporarily specifying distractions, like to put a time limit on it, whatever it might be that you need to like decompress, or you're not in a place or a mindset or whatever where you can deal with a certain dilemma or that disappointment or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So you need a little distraction, like go for a hike or listen to music or take whatever it might be. And then with the intent of returning to deal with that dilemma or that disappointment or those emotions when you're better able to do so, but not using it as a avoidance, because I think a lot of times that's what distractions become for us.
Yeah, I think you're well done, by the way. Just super proud of you. The when it comes to any type of success, I believe that most successes, whether they're large or small, that happen in our lives, the path to that success is littered with disappointments, littered with them. Like anybody that's ever accomplished anything has way more disappointments and failures that have come into their path than the actual thing they've succeeded at. Like it's proportionally, it's like way more disappointments, right? You can use all kinds of analogies. I won't bore you with them. But I think that is what helps someone to say this was a disappointment, but it doesn't stop me from being able to achieve or accomplish. What is that thing? And so for you were talking about, obviously after escaping the basement.
Right.
I'm just kidding, kind of.
Kinda.
And all the
Pretty
prison,
on
the
point.
mental prison, right? Not a literal basement, but she felt like she was in a really dark, cold, damp place that she couldn't get out of. Am I nailing it?
Yeah, you're pretty right on, actually.
Well done. So then you got out of that, right? And so in that world, what was the trigger that said, all right, I'm going to give this thing another go? What was it? What happened to you? Was it just all of a sudden one day out of nowhere you just, all right, I'll give it a try? Or was there something that you felt you were missing? Like what was the thing? Right.
It definitely wasn't just like one day I woke up and was like, okay, it was right. It was a lot of
men, right? It's raining men, hallelujah, right? No, that didn't happen.
No,
okay.
It was a lot of time and years spent just like healing and first like loving myself and realizing my worth and my potential, and then it was my big sister kicking me in the butt and saying, I signed you up for a dating app, and I'm like, whoa.
Oh no.
So it was a little bit of like a push out of the nest.
Great
but
news, yeah.
like there was a lot of different experiences like along the way that opened up my awareness to like, wow, maybe there is something to these relationships that could be beneficial or part of my experience that I would want to take part of. So it wasn't one thing. It was just kind of an all along the way. But like to your point, there definitely is a lot of disappointments, but we always just focus on what we see as success, right? And we kind of tend to forget or don't want to even acknowledge all the disappointments or failures along the way, right?
For sure. I totally agree. I think when it comes to working through those things, how do we visualize when a disappointment happens? Like we always have a reaction, right? We're going to have a reaction that's sad or mad or hurt or whatever the thing is. But then what happens after that? What is that thing that we can encourage each other to be able to do? And in your situation, you were like, this is all blah, blah, blah. And I'm guessing that your sister had kind of a front row seat into the drama that was your life after the dark, dreary basement.
Right.
So I'm guessing that at some point she goes, you know what Lindsay needs to do?
Yeah.
She needs to stop.
I won't tell you what she really said I needed, but
Yes.
yeah,
Again, we don't have to call them the FCC again. It seems like every show, Lindsay, you say something that causes the
Totally
FCC to come in and say,
inappropriate,
okay, we're going to need you guys to clean that up. Right.
Right.
So I'm guessing that she recognized something and hit you at just the right time to go, okay. And I think that's really valuable to have people in your life that see how they could help you get past that disappointment or get past that, what turned into be distraction for you.
Yes.
More than disappointment, right? It kind of changed into that.
I think
Almost like an excuse. I don't want to be hurt
Right.
again, so I'm not going to do it.
Right. And I think we do that, right? Or
Yeah.
we're disappointed in any part of our lives. And then we're just like, oh, well, I'm a failure in this aspect, or this is not meant to be for me, or this isn't going to
Yeah.
work out. So just not even going to try, or not even going to put myself out there, or.
Yeah. It's like I have been hurt. And so I never want to be hurt again. And often that attitude causes us to be hurt again.
Right.
Worse or anyway
Right.
or more because we have that instead of saying, well, that's
Right.
Okay.
But, and like you were saying about our reactions, like our initial reactions are like all emotionally charged, and that
Yeah.
might be anger or
no.
all men suck or whatever it might be. But then when we deal with those emotions, and then we can have a reaction that's more authentic to what we really believe or want.
Speaking of emotional reactions, we can go back to Be Wise and see.
Okay. Be wise. Welcome back.
Yeah. Right.
Aw,
Yeah.
thanks. Thanks, Lindsay.
We appreciate you
course.
coming back. Yeah. Please
No, I'm not-
tell Lindsay all the ways that she's wrong.
One says he's
I told them to be nice
Oh yeah,
to
that's
me
right.
today.
Yeah. Be nice. We changed it from Be Wise to Be Nice.
I like it. Do we spell it with a C? Be nice? I guess we would, right?
Yeah.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Just a Z.
Otherwise it'd be
Uh,
S or Z.
So, Jeff,
no.
unfortunately, I think you come up with some part of the topic that I think is worth repeating, and that's triggers. I think triggers are the thing that is, you talked about distractions, and those things are going to come at us no matter what. They're going to come at us like a ton of bricks just flying at us. And but the triggers are what identifies our need to either move in a direction. So we have internal triggers and we have external triggers. So an internal trigger to a distraction would be, hunger, for example. I'm hungry. And so now I'm distracted. I've got to go find something to eat to overcome that distraction. Or I got the chills, and so I need a sweater or a jacket. So those would be internal type triggers. An external trigger would be like something like our phone, where our phone is dinging and pinging all day long, and no matter what we're doing, we suddenly get distracted, and now our nose is in our phones, trying to figure out what to do and what not to do. And those can really be destructive kind of things. I mean, you're taking time away from maybe loved ones or your work or things that maybe you really don't want to do and you're just putting off. And so Lindsay talked about then how do you overcome that? What do you do? How do you focus on just the positive? Do you try to spin that distraction into something that's positive and moves you towards traction, towards something that you want to overcome? And maybe a couple of things that could help you overcome that would be, goal setting or a vision board or even task lists. Easy for me to say.
So Lindsay could put up I don't know, I'm guessing pictures of like David Beckham.
Exactly. And so those are things that can help you move towards the things that you want and away from distraction.
Yeah.
Nicely played.
It's good.
Nice. Well, yeah, just like Maslow's quote, right? Like we have the ultimate vision, but we don't lose focus with all these disappointments and distractions along the way.
So where on Maslow is David Beckham?
Yeah. Well, but he is. I don't want to make this awkward, but he's got to be near the top as far as I'm concerned in so many different levels. But I'm a big David Beckham fan, by the way.
not?
So yeah. So Brian, I have a question for you, and that is, if
Well,
you
you're wise
could,
to come.
well, we're about to find out. We're fitting to find out, as the kids say. So is there a disappointment that maybe you can share that you were able to move past that could help our audience today? Yeah.
A disappointment. Yeah.
It's hard to choose one of
Well,
them, right?
yeah, there really is. I told the story about getting some donuts, didn't I? Did I mention that
Earlier,
story?
yeah.
Getting
A national donut chain,
Um,
not to be named.
So with me, it's usually relationship based, and so you have good relationships with people, and then suddenly they sour, and that becomes a huge disappointment because they were somebody that you really depended on and counted on, and valued their friendship and their advice even, and being able to put that Humpty Dumpty back together on that one is kind of an important thing. At least it was for me. So I was able to overcome it by setting aside my disappointment and what caused the relationship to fail in the first place. So
Yeah.
I'd say that's number one. That's with you, Jeff, by the way. That was a relationship.
I
Glad
think
we
that,
put that back together, bro. Solidarity.
yeah. I don't know. It's
Okay.
I'm not sure. So I could totally see how people, and we have, by the way, we have an episode called "People Suck," and I just can't live without them. You might want to check out, which kind of goes along this line of the fact of the matter is that people can be, in most cases, are going to disappoint. No matter who you have in your life, they're going to disappoint you, and you have to make a choice whether you're willing to live with the consequences of that disappointment and not allow it to keep you from becoming what can be, or even in that relationship, what's possible. And so I think it's really good advice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
If I may interject, I have a comment here. I had somebody that used the term. They said, "You know what? You always have anticipation." Like, excuse me. They're like, you've been
Right. That's a good
disappointed
one.
so much that you're now anticipating the disappointment
Right.
that's going to come your way. You have anticipation,
Yeah.
which then bars you from moving
Yeah.
forward.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, it sounds like a them problem. Am I right, Sean?
Yeah, it's all their problem, not my problem.
Maybe they should change their ways. How about that? That's a really good one, because I think that we get in that mindset, and probably that's when your little dating story, that how you got into it was you just had assumed before your sister pushed you out of the nest or off the cliff, or whatever
Right.
the thing was. There was you were that way. You were already anticipating
Right.
that there was going to be disappointment.
Right. And so how do you deal with that? Like for me, I think it's just remembering, just stay in the present moment, right? Don't like have these expectations or have any emotions about what could be or what should be,
Yeah.
but just like stay in the present moment, because I think because look, everything's uncertain. Like we can't control people. We can't control what happens or, always our situations. But I think there's like a lot of freedom in that as well. Just like releasing control and realizing that we have like really no security is encouraging, because then all possibilities become available for us.
Yeah, and I think we sensationalize what we have to lose. Right? We sensationalize it as we have so much to lose that we can't take this chance on this. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, what we have is the ability to build ourselves and build relationships with those around us. So I was reminded of obstacles, and I think that obstacles in our life do become distractions that withhold us, keep us back from achieving. And so I think often we can decide to turn an obstacle, a barrier in our lives, we can turn that into a hurdle. I think that often we get tripped up on the smallest of things. They look like mountains, but they're really just the smallest of things, and we'll trip on them when we can just hurdle over them. And I think when it comes to disappointments, I think that moving this process along and going off of what Brian mentioned, which was disappointments turn into distractions. And then we have a choice to turn it into something that's going to develop us or something that's going to be destructive in our lives. And so I would encourage us as we move along to look at our disappointments as opportunities to deploy us in ways that actually can make us better than we were before we started.
I
So that's
agree.
my
Yeah, I
advice.
like.
And I can't wait to drill down in on our channels more about Lindsay and her dating life and all of her stuff and her
Pretty much sums
overcoming.
it up.
Can't wait for it. Lingering with Lindsay, we can call it.
Right.
Anyway, back to you.
But I like that, because disappointments can easily become distractions. And I think that the more self-awareness we have, and I think being curious and asking ourselves questions, okay, why am I allowing this to become a distraction? Like, what am I trying to avoid, or what am I afraid of? And actually like being aware of that, and then, okay, deciding what you ultimately want, and then having the courage and to be able to step into that and put yourself out there again.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think we can curb disappointment, like I said, just by remembering that nothing's like permanent anyways. Everything's always changing beyond our control. So all we have is right now.
I love it. And just for those of you that are out there that have good credit, have amazing asset statements, that is looking for an amazing woman to build the next phase of life with, and is willing to go through all the stages of us vetting you, send us an email with all those items to igetitmedia@gmail.com, igetitmedia@gmail.com, and we'll see if you qualify for Lingering with Lindsay.
Right. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for the plug. But it's not what I'm really looking for. But anyways, we appreciate all of you guys. Thank you, Jeff and B-Wise and Sean and all of our listeners. And please check out our social media at the I Get It Show, and join us next week. We'll be talking about expectations. Yeah, it's going to build off of this for exciting. Yeah. What could possibly go wrong? All right, we'll see you next show. See you guys.
You've been listening to The I Get It Show. Witty and insightful conversations about nothing, discussing how our daily lives are influenced by everything. Feel free to reach out. The I Get It Show @gmail.com. Like and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, this has been The I Get It Show. This has been a production from a podcast studio.